What is up, you book? What is up? How are you doing? What are you up to on this fine day, night, morning, mid-morning? I don't know, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, how are you doing? Let me know. Today we're gonna be doing something very exciting, and I apologize for this really crappy intro, but this is what we're working with, okay? Also, this video is probably just going to be poor quality because I'm just filming it on my phone because it's all I have and I'm not going to buy a camera. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about every single book I've read this year. Okay, my reading goal for 2023 was 60 books. I managed to read 63. I didn't even think I was going to be able to do 60, so I'm surprised I even got that many. But I'm just letting you know that this video is going to be filmed like 2 different days. So the part that you're about to see next was filmed a couple weeks ago, and then the intro and then the outro are filmed today, okay? So keep that in mind. This video is not going to be like the best quality video you've ever seen, but I hope you enjoy it and I hope it's fun. And today we're going to be talking about and rating every single book I've read in the year 2023. Let's get into it. Let's start with one that I think is going to make a lot of you mad. Fourth Wing. Everybody knows Fourth Wing. Everybody knows what it's about. Everybody knows how popular it got. I'm gonna be honest with you though. I didn't really love this book as much as everyone was saying. You know, it was okay. I think I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. It was a fun read. It wasn't the best thing I've ever read. The plot was a little bit lacking, and I'm probably going to anger a lot of people to say this, but I don't really think it was that memorable. I've read a lot more fantasy books that are a lot more well written and a lot better than this was, but it was still fun. It was still a lot of fun to read. I will not be reading the second one, just because I'm really not that interested in it. At least as of right now. Maybe eventually I will, but as of right now I'm not interested in it, and yeah, I think, yeah. It was cute. That's all I'm going to say. So technically, I actually started this year off with Crescent City and House of Sky and Breath. Now, if you're a big Sarah J Maas fan, you know what happens in these two. I can't really, I'm not going to be able to give a synopsis about any of these books just because I can't describe books well. As soon as I read them, I know what happened, but if somebody asked me what happened, I would not be able to describe it at all without completely spoiling the entire thing. So I am not probably going to be describing a lot of these books because I will spoil them for everyone. Basically, these are a continuation of the Sarah J Maas universe. They are the 3rd series she has ever written, and if you know, they are all interconnected to each other, and I think that is probably the only reason I read them. Rate them probably 5 out of 5 stars as a whole. The first one I probably rate 3 out of 5. It's not that memorable. It was so hard to get into. I think it's extra hard to get into because technically it's fantasy, but it's set modern day, and I've heard a lot of other people say they had the same problem with the world building where it was just impossible to get into. I think that's right. I will rate this one 3 out of 5, but together it's 5 out of 5, and if you read it, you know why. And it really has nothing to do with this series as itself. It just has to do with the other ones she's written, for me personally anyway. But yeah, this is what I started the year off with, so it's probably also going to be what I end the year with if I can actually get to them in time. I doubt it though. Continuing on with the fantasy, another little fun one I read this year was Assistant to the Villain. Now, this one I rated 5 out of 5 stars. This book was so much fun. It was so good. I loved the writing style. I loved just the book as a whole. 5 out of 5 stars. It was if you take what as a child you thought fantasy was, that's what this book is. It reminded me of my childhood. I don't know how and why, because it is young adult, but I loved it. I loved it so freaking much. Sometimes I have a hard time reading young adult books just because it's not as how do I say, violent as I would like them to be. But this one was so cute. It was so much fun to read, so funny, so witty, so good. 5 out of 5 stars. I loved this book. Getting into a series, a lot of people are probably going to be mad at me about what I rate this as well. The Caraval series. Now, this was another one that TikTok hyped up absolutely insane. I enjoyed it while I was reading it. It was a good concept in theory. I just don't think it was executed that well, for me personally anyway. I probably rate this entire series for 4 out of 5 if I'm being nice. Maybe even 3 out of 5. Don't get angry. That's just what I rated it, because I physically remember reading this book. First book, really interesting. I really loved it. It was really fun to read. Second book got a little bit slow. I was a little bit bored. Third book, I was absolutely wanting to die trying to finish it. I only realized I liked the entire series after I was done reading it, and I think that was just because I was done and I didn't have to read it anymore. Otherwise, it was not that fun to me. It was a really good concept. It wasn't executed in a way that I enjoyed it at all. And it's a shame, because I really wanted to enjoy these books. And I love Stephanie Garber's writing. Her writing's really good. Something didn't do it for me in this series, and I don't know what it is. And a lot of people really love these books, but for me personally, it wasn't my thing, I think. But then, on the topic of Stephanie Garber, she then wrote another series, the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, which is kind of a continuation of Caraval. You don't have to read them together, but they do go together in a way. I love these books. 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10. They're so freaking good. Now, I know with the third one just came out late this year. It wasn't everyone's favorite. I still really enjoyed it, but it's probably the lowest rating out of the first two. 5 out of 5. The last one, probably 3 out of 5, because what the heck happened in that book? Nothing was answered. It kind of left it on. It was really rushed, and not as much detail went into it as the first two, and I was kind of disappointed. But I still really enjoyed it while I was reading it, just not as much as the first two. The first two are just like so absolutely perfect. I'm in love with Jax. Evangeline, she can kind of be annoying, but I grew to like her. But yeah, I really liked Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. It was really good. It's fun. It's cute. I loved it. I'm in love with it. I'm in love with Jax, most of all. I think everyone is. So yeah, I think I would rate these 3 together 5 out of 5. But the last one lacking. I wish we could rewrite it, because I don't know what happened there. Ooh, I'm going to talk about one that Book Talk definitely lied to me about. All the Ugly and Wonderful Things. I'm not even going to tell you what this book is about besides, well, it's about pedophilia. There's no other way for me to put it. I've never read a book that has made me so uncomfortable in my entire life. Let me gather my thoughts here. When I read the reviews for this book online, they were all like 5 out of 5 stars. Everybody loved it. Everybody was raving about how good of a book it was, and the story was great. I think I got through like almost towards the end, and then I couldn't do it, because the whole first 3/4 of the book are about this 20-year-old man falling in love with like this 9-year-old girl, and they have this weird relationship going on. I didn't understand it. It made me horribly uncomfortable, and the author always kept writing and describing the main guy as like this disgusting, greasy man, it made me so awfully uncomfortable. It was disgusting. He would like sneak into the little girl's room. 0 out of 5. Don't read this book. It was awful. One of the worst books I've ever read. I don't even know why I kept reading it, and everybody's lying about it. It's not good. Another one, If We Were Villains. Now this book follows along with a bunch of college kids that are really into theater, and then a murder happens. And it's not really a murder mystery, because the main college kids know what happened. But yeah, so basically it's about this murder, and they're trying to cover it up while also going to college still and trying to be normal. This book went crazy on TikTok. It was so big for so long, and it's not really, like, this isn't a book I don't think I would have picked up without people telling me to read it. It was good. It was enjoyable. I remember really enjoying it while I was reading it. I probably rate it 4 out of 5 stars. It's not my cup of tea is the problem. I feel so bad ever rating a book that isn't a fantasy, because I mostly only read fantasy, so I feel like it's kind of unfair for me to even talk about any other books that I've read, but I'm going to anyway, because I want to do what I want. So I think it was a good little read. I think it was fun. I don't think it was the best book I've ever read, but that's not saying a lot, because I probably have really shitty taste. What do I know? Another quick one I read this year, this was basically just a filler book so that I would be close to reaching my goal, was Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the Chalice of the Gods. I rate this one 5 out of 5 stars. This one basically follows along with like senior Percy Jackson. So he's a senior in high school now. He's trying to get into college. It's kind of like a short novella, I would say. And I don't know if they're turning this into like an adult I guess, more young adult series for Percy Jackson. I don't know. I probably rated 5 out of 5 stars only because it reminded me of my childhood, and I absolutely loved Percy Jackson growing up. It was incredible. It was my everything. I absolutely loved it. Greek mythology, love it. So yeah, I think I rate this one 5 out of 5 stars just because it was a cute little read that made me kind of think about back to my childhood and all the things I used to read then. Ooh, another really fun one I enjoyed is The Bear and the Nightingale. This one is kind of about like a Russian folklore, I guess you could say. It's like it's set in Russia, which I remember making it really, really hard to read, but I probably rate this 5 out of 5 stars. The first half of this book was so hard for me to get through, but then once you get into it, it is so good. It's so much fun. I think it's part of a trilogy, and I haven't read the other two, but I remember really loving this one. I picked it up because I thought it would be a quick little read, and it is not a quick little read at all. It was really hard for me to get through just because there's a lot of really big Russian words, and I'm stupid, so it was really hard for me to pick up on what was going on at first, but once I was into it, I really enjoyed it. I think I rate this one probably 5 out of 5 stars. It was just good. It was something different. It was something at least I've never read before, and I really enjoyed it because of that. So 5 out of 5 stars for that one. Another one I read, this one also was going around on TikTok for a while, at least I saw it going around on TikTok, is Circe. This one follows along with the goddess, I think she's a goddess? I think she's a goddess. Circe. Follows along with her. She's incredible. I absolutely love her. It's about Circe who lives on an island, and a bunch of men keep coming to her island and she turns them into pig. That part of Greek mythology, I loved it. It was really enjoyable. I think it's enjoyable for me just because when I was little, or at least younger, I used to read so much Greek mythology, so always going back to books like this is so much fun for me because I don't read it as often as I used to anymore, but it's still something I hold near and dear to my heart. I really love it. So this one was enjoyable. It was good. Circe's an absolute baddie. I love her. She's everything to me. I want to marry her. She's incredible. 5 out of 5 stars. I also apologize because a lot of these books are going to be fantasy. So if that's not something you're into, well, it's probably something you're into if you're here, because that's mostly all I read. But another one I read was A Forbidden Fate by Kaven Herning. Now, if you're on ACOTAR TikTok, you know who Kaven is. She wrote her own book. I think it's self-published, actually. And it was pretty good for like a self-published book. I mean, it's better than I would ever do, because I would never publish a book, because I could never sit down and actually write something or even have the brain capacity to think of something. I could hardly have the brain capacity to actually read stuff, so I definitely could never write a book. So good on her for actually doing it. And it was really good for a self-published book. And now I'm going to say that. I say, okay, it was really good for a self-published book. It just wasn't my cup of tea. I think you're probably rated 3 out of 5 stars. I couldn't get into it. I mean, I sound like an absolute lying snake. That was so hypocritical. It was good for a self-published book. It was cute. It wasn't my cup of tea. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, another one that I read this year, Belladonna and Foxglove. Now, this is I think it's only a duology. No, I think they're going to be making a third one. At least they ended the second one to where they'll be making a third one. This story is about a girl named Signa, and she can see dead people. Basically, that's it. She can see dead people, and she has to eat these belladonna seeds to kill herself in order to see said dead people and communicate with death. Long story short, there's a murder mystery, and she uses her ability to see dead people and talk to death to solve the mystery. It was... I rate this book probably 4 out of 5 stars. It was fun. It was a really cool concept, something I've never read before. It was a little slow and a little hard to get into. There was just a lot of like stuff in between that just, I don't know, I guess just didn't need to be there. It was super good. Writing style was easy to read. It just wasn't like that interesting. And the second one, I would say the same thing. I'd probably rate it, the second one, 3 out of 5. It basically still follows along with Signa, a little bit more with her cousin though, which I can't remember the name of. Whatever, it follows along with her sister. I don't know what is happening in this part. It's like my brain shut off, but I do promise that I get it together here shortly. Just bear with me. I really enjoyed the second one. It was cute. That's how I'll describe it. It was cute. It was really slow, a little bit boring, a little bit hard to get through. But it was, you know, it was cute. That's all I'm going to say. These two books together, probably 3 out of 5 stars. They were enjoyable. They weren't my cup of tea. They were a little slow. let's get away from fantasy for a minute. Let's do, ooh, this one's a thriller. Don't Let Her Stay. Now this is about a book about this woman who just had a baby. She's married to this older man. They live out in the middle of nowhere. Her husband has this daughter that he had with his ex-wife who passed away. It's basically an anxiety-inducing book. I'm not a fan of thrillers. They're not something that I often read a whole lot. If you like anxiety-inducing books, this is a good one to read. It was really good. I rated it 5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. Super spooky, made me super paranoid. It was really good writing. The writing is easy to follow. It wasn't boring. There was no like empty space in between. Something was always happening, which I really enjoy. I hate the empty space and the just dialogue. I don't know. Nothing about it was like useless. Everything had a point and it was super good. It was a really fun read, and I think it made me a little bit more interested in thrillers for sure. You should read it. Oh, another one I read. This one was one I picked up because I thought it was cute. And I'm gonna tell you right now, technically, to me, I finished it technically, okay? I think I had like a couple chapters left that I skimmed because I got a little bit bored. It was cute. It was just a little bit boring. It was just like kind of the same thing over and over again. And let me freaking tell you the book, Homer's Odyssey. I rated 3 out of 5 stars. It was really cute at first. It made me cry, but I think it was just because I was on my period and I really love cats. And that's probably why I rated it so high. Also, because I love cats and cats make me cry. It was really cute. It was enjoyable. It was just a fun little book to read in between stuff, kind of. It was good. It was a little boring. It was a little boring only because the author put so much like, I just wanted to read about the cat, okay? I didn't want to read about her, and she put too much about her in there. Another one I read this year is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. This book follows along with Poppy and Alex. They met in college and then kind of drifted apart. Poppy works for like this like travel magazine, I think what it is, travel blog. And so it's kind of her job to travel. Long story short, they go on a vacation together after all these years of not being in contact with one another, and you know, romance stuff happens, obviously, because it's a romance book. I really like this one. I think I probably rated it 4 out of 5 stars. It wasn't like the best romance book I've ever read, but it was really cute. It was really fun. I love her writing, super easy to understand. Kind of just hard for me to rate romance books fairly anyway, because if they're not holding a knife to each other's throat or punching each other in the face, I don't really think it's romance. I think it's just kind of cute, but like not like toe curling romance. That's what you find in fantasy books. Another one by Emily Henry I read was Beach Read. This one I did not really enjoy that much. I think it was 3 out of 5. I really only ever read romance books as like an in-between series, or if I just need something kind of lighthearted, and this is a good book for that. If you want something that's quick and kind of just easy to get through, it's this. It was cute. I don't think it was really memorable is my problem, and I know a lot of people love this book, and I love Emily Henry's writing, but yeah, it just wasn't really for me, I guess. I think that's pretty much it. Another one I read is The Unhoneymooners. I read this so long ago I can't remember anything about it. But basically they get stuck going on a honeymoon together, and once again romance ensues, obviously. This one was also a cute read. It wasn't my favorite. I'd probably rate it 4 out of 5 stars. It was enjoyable. It was a quick something to get through, and I think that's why I like it. There's not much else for me to say about this book. It was cute. It was enjoyable. It was an easy, simple little read. Another romance book I read, Love and Other Words. Now, this one, 5 out of 5 stars. I loved this book. It is so cute, so cozy. Made me want to live in the cabin in the middle of nowhere. It's about 2 friends that grew up together, basically only seeing each other in the summer, and every time Macy would go to her family cabin after her mom passed away, and that's when they met. And every summer, as they were growing up, they would go into this kind of reading room she had, and they would read books together. And it's so cute. I love it. It's so cozy. Absolute favorite. 5 out of 5 stars. I would read this one over and over again. It was so freaking cute. And it's so funny because Christina Lauren also is the one that wrote The Unhoneymooners, and then she wrote this book, and they're like 2 completely different worlds. I didn't really enjoy this one that much, but Love and Other Words I absolutely love. You should read it if you love romance books. It was so cute. I loved it. Another one, little rom-com, Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. This is about 2 kids, Liz and Wes, and they're in high school, and they've always kind of had this rivalry going on, and they've never really gotten along, but it turns out one of them is secretly in love with each other. Spoiler alert, who would have guessed? Anyway, it was really cute. This one was really cute. I think I rated it 4 out of 5 stars just because it was enjoyable. I kind of have a hard time. I feel like I'm like fresh out of high school. I'm not, but like basically I am. And I think it's hard for me to read high school romance books just because it's a little too young for me, I think. Even if it's young adult writing, I just don't like reading about people in high school. It's not my favorite ever. At least if it's not like they're all dying or something or fighting for their life, and then it's enjoyable. But yeah, when they're just being high school kids falling in love, it just made me realize how bad I failed in high school and how much of a loser in high school I was. So it's not that enjoyable. This next one, I've got a lot to say about this next one. I was lied to about these two books. TikTok absolutely blew up saying these are the best books ever. Let me just say, Magnolia Parks and Daisy Hates. Two of the worst books I've ever read in my life. They were awful. It was like Wattpad, but kind of worse because I've read better stories on Wattpad. They were so long for what? And these books made me so angry reading them. I'm not a fan of books that a miscommunication trope. Hate that. And that's what these two books are. I have the third one. I haven't even read it because I just didn't even want to do that to myself. I'd probably rate these 2 out of 5 each, maybe 3 if I'm feeling in a good mood. They were so hard for me to get through. I could see why people would like them, but for me it just reminded me of Wattpad, and I've read a lot better books on Wattpad. They were so long, kind of boring. I hate miscommunication, and that's all it was. It was just miscommunication back and forth, so toxic, made me so angry. It was like, why? I was getting so mad at the author because it's like, just move forward now. We get it. Move on. Make them talk it out. Like, I get that they're supposed to be toxic, but for the 18th time that they've miscommunicated about the same thing, it's like, let's just move on now, please, before I absolutely lose my mind. So yeah, I rate these books 2 out of 3. 2 out of 5. I can't even talk about those books. They made me so angry. Another one is the Twisted Lies series. Now, this is a 4-part series and it's about different people. So technically, all the girls are from one friend group, and then all the guys are kind of from a friend group. Kind of not. They all just know each other. But the girls are in a friend group. Each book is about a different guy and a different girl from this friend group. They're like mafia romances, but like lower level mafia romances. They were cute. They were enjoyable. I'd probably rate them 4 out of 5 stars as a whole. Each book's probably 4 out of 5 stars. Besides Twisted Games, because Reese Larson... Ooh, I love a man named Reese. He's my favorite. He's so good. I love it. Broody, big, giant, angry men. Oh, I never get sick of it. Oh, I love it. I love that trope. Anyway, these books, they were cute. They were enjoyable. Kind of along the same lines of the Wattpad writing. They just kind of remind me of that. They were really cute. They were enjoyable. They're really fun. They're really popular on Book Talk. Okay, another one I read this year is the Mindfuck series. I loved this book. 5 out of 5 stars. It's about Lana Myers. She's basically goes absolute ape shit on everyone, okay? She gets some revenge on these guys that were awful to her and her brother. She goes ape shit. I love it. I love nothing more than a woman that just goes absolutely berserk and murders every man in her path that has ever done anything wrong to her. I love it. I will never get sick of it. 5 out of 5 stars simply because that's the best trope I think I've ever read in my entire life. There was some cheesy moments. The dialogue in this can be pretty cheesy, but overall I really enjoyed it. Another one I read is The Stolen Heir. Now, if you read the Cruel Prince series, this is a continuation of that series, but it's just about Jude's little brother Oak, who's supposed to be taking the throne. This one follows along with Oak and Surin. Oak and Surin are in this book, and basically Oak takes her along to, figure out this thing that they have to figure out in the fantasy book. I'm going to spoil it if I give you any more detail than that, okay? But just know that they're doing their fantasy thing, and it's just like a typical fantasy book, okay? It was cute. YA is getting harder and harder for me to read, though. And so I think I rate this probably 4 out of 5 stars. I'm only rating it that high because I just like the Cruel Prince series. I like her writing. Holly Black has really good writing. She makes everything really easy to understand. And it was cute. It was just a cute little fun book. It wasn't... Yeah, I don't know. It's getting harder for me to read YA just because it's YA. I think I'm growing out of it a little bit, but otherwise I really enjoyed it. Now into a book series that I have a definite love-hate relationship with, and that is the From Blood and Ash series. Now I've only read the 4 of them, and I think there's a 5th that might be out or is coming out soon. But like I said, love-hate relationship with this series. First book, incredible. I really loved it. It was like the perfect fantasy series. Castile and Poppy, that's the 2 main characters. I might have just, well, I didn't spoil it. Everybody talks about it. Castile and Poppy, that's the 2 main characters of this entire book. The first one was really good. I rated probably 5 out of 5 stars. It was really enjoyable, and then all of a sudden it just kind of got repetitive in the last 3. And it was really hard to get through them. I remember really struggling to get through them. There's too much empty space in between important things that are actually going on. Second, third, fourth book, that's kind of how they are. It's just like empty space and then action, empty space, action. But the action doesn't even make up for the empty space. That's the problem. And so it was really hard to read past the first book. But other than that, and I've heard a lot of other people say this, but I am gonna say that this series does not need to be 5 parts. This could have been done in 3 books, maybe 2. It did not need 5 books. I don't even know what the 5th book could possibly be about. But yeah, so that's why I have a love-hate relationship with it. It was fun, it was enjoyable, and then it went from fun and enjoyable to just, I was dying inside and I wanted to be done. It was hard. But I still think you should read it. I mean, it was fun. I love Castile. I think that's probably the only reason I kept reading was because I love Castile so much. Poppy has her moments. She's cool sometimes. But Castile, he is the it man. Oh, I love him so much. Next book is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This is basically like a fantasy meets Hunger Games book, basically. It follows along with Peyton Gray and Kai Azur. And I love them both. Kai Azur, though, I love him a little bit more. So basically, like I said, it's like a fantasy Hunger Games retelling. It's about these elites that have to go into this competition to prove who's basically like the best. And that's what they have to go through. And of course, Peyton and Kai kind of have this enemies to lovers trope a little bit going on. It was really cute. I really loved it. 5 out of 5 stars. It was written so well, so easy to follow along with. It was so much fun to read. I'm biased though, because I will probably rate a lot of fantasy books 5 out of 5 stars. Now, moving on to another fantasy trilogy, the Daughter of No Worlds trilogy. I first picked up these books because a lot of people online were saying if you like Throne of Glass, which freaking obviously I like Throne of Glass. If you like Throne of Glass, you'll like these. Now, I'm gonna have to disagree. They're not at all like Throne of Glass. Throne of Glass is very action-packed and there's a lot of plot. This is not very action-packed. It had very few scenes that were like, the author didn't really ever describe battles or anything like that throughout this series. But the main character, Tisana, she reminds me of Aelin. So if you're a really big fan of Aelin Galathynius, you're gonna really like Tisana. I love this trilogy, 5 out of 5 stars. They were so much fun. Once again, going back to the I love a woman who just completely obliterates all of her competition. I will never get sick of it. And that's what she does in these. It's so freaking good. She's so powerful, so badass. Absolutely love her. It was a lot of fun to read. They were so good and they only got better. Little did I know, also, minor spoiler, so cover your ears if you're gonna read it. It also has it's like a fantasy book, and I'm gonna say this without spoiling it, but then there's also other elements of fantasy that you're like, no way, this is also involved. So I really enjoyed it. They were a lot of fun. They're not as plot heavy as Throne of Glass, so if somebody tells you they're like Throne of Glass, don't believe it, because they're not like Throne of Glass. Tisana is just like Aelin. Not as cool though, okay? Nobody can replicate Aelin, but she does remind me a lot of Aelin, so I will say that. I also read, on my Kindle this year, I read Icebreaker and Wildfire by Hannah Grace. Those 2 books, 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely love them. They're so good. I'm obsessed with Nate Hawkins. They're basically hockey romances. There's not really much else to say unless you want me to spoil everything for you. Yeah, they're just cute little hockey romances. I absolutely love them. I'm obsessed with them. Some of the best spice I've ever read in my entire life. They're so good. So good. They're so good, you guys. I don't know what I'm going to say. They're so good. I love these books. And the 3rd one's coming out in June. I'm freaking so excited for Henry's book. What else can I say? I love Hannah Grace's writing. They're so good. So good. Now for this year, I did reread the ACOTAR and Throne of Glass series. I reread them because of preparation in January. If you're a big Sarah J Maas fan, you know what's happening in January. I'm literally gonna piss my pants with nerves. I am so freaking excited. But I reread these series just to kind of keep my brain understanding what's going on, because if I didn't read these, I would pick up that new Crescent City book and I would have no idea what any of it ever meant. I probably still will pick up that third book and have no idea what any of it means, just like I did when I was reading these the first time. But yeah, so I reread these series. What can I say? 5 out of 5 stars, 10 out of 10 stars. These series are engraved in my eyelids, brain, soul, heart. These are all I think about, and rereading them solidified the fact that they're my favorite series in the entire world. Nothing will ever compare. Nothing will ever compare. They're my favorite. I absolutely love them. I will never get sick of them. I'm gonna probably reread them every single freaking year because I love them so much. That's all I really have to say about that. I'm gonna start this by saying this is now the end of December that I'm recording this part. I didn't really care to get all dressed up and whatever for this part because I finished the year with only 2 other series, okay? So, ended my year was with the Knock 'Em Out trilogy. I loved these books. I went into these books completely blind. I thought they were just gonna be like cute little like high school romance books, and boy was I wrong. And I was glad I was wrong because I did not want to read these. But then I read the first one and I fell in absolute love. They were so good. They were so hot and like over dramatic, and like I didn't think there was gonna be like a mafia trope. I don't even know. I don't know. They were over dramatic and I loved them. I fell in love with them. I love everything about them. They were a lot of fun to read. I probably rate this entire trilogy 5 out of 5 stars. I loved them, and I will always recommend them. They were fun little reads. I don't know. They were just different. I really enjoyed them. 5 out of 5 stars for each of those. Okay, and then the series I actually ended the year on, the final thing for the year 2023 that I read, it is The Plated Prisoner series. This is what I finished the year on. I love this series. I love it so much. There's also Gold. That one just came out this year. That was the last one she wrote. Raven Kennedy wrote so far. I loved this series. 5 out of 5 stars for this entire series. It was so much fun. Except for like the first book, I did not know what I was getting into when I started the series, and the first book did not help with that because it is so bad. Like, it's really bad, this first book. But I'm glad I continued reading because the rest of them are just so good. But this first one is really bad. And I really was embarrassed to even be reading it because it literally starts out so intense. But I really love this series. I loved Oren. I think Oren, oh my gosh. I think that's the first time I've ever said her name out loud. And it sounds like a gag. I don't know how to say her name. Oren. I'm going with Oren. Oren has probably the best character development I've ever read in a series. Like, ever. I really, really loved it. She was like so whiny and could not do anything, and then she became like really awesome, and I really loved her. I really love this series, and I can't wait for the 6th one to come out. And I can't wait to get my paperback version of Gold. I'm so excited for that. But yeah, I love this series, and this is what I ended the year on, and I'm glad I ended the year with this. I went out with a bang this year. Also, I'm popping on here to add again, while I was editing this video, I managed to finish Divine Rivals. So I read 64 books this year, not 63, and I rate this 3.5 stars. It was really not what I was expecting. It was strange. It was rushed. It was weird. I just didn't really enjoy it that much. So 3.5 stars for this one. This is the last book of the year. This is what I ended the year on, okay? I'm done now. So we're gonna consider this the outro. I love making videos for you guys. I want to continue making videos for you guys. Thank you so much for watching me and supporting me and loving everything that I do. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will, if there's something you want to see me do, let me know, and maybe I'll do it for you, okay? But thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for supporting me. I love you all. I love you so much. You guys make this so much fun to do. And I'm so glad I get to share something I love so much with you guys. So thank you so much for watching. I love you all. Bye. And I will see you somewhere on the internet. Love you.